So who all are present? Atif, Fatima, Hamza, Hiba, Huzaifa, Krishna, Kulsum, Sneh. All right, class. Good evening. Am I audible to all of you?
Good evening, ma'am.
All right. So in the last class, we had started with this lesson, alternating current. That was your chapter number 7 of NCERT. So here we had just seen the introductory part of alternating current and basically the working of AC dynamo or AC generator. So direct current is which type of current? Direct current. Everything is written in front
Constant
of the
current.
constant current. Exactly. Direct current is basically constant current. Constant current means it is not changing with time, and just contrary to it is the alternating current. Alternating current changes with time. As the time passes, variation of time, variation of current occurs. Then we had seen AC generator. So Fatima, what was the principle of AC generator?
It is based on electromagnetic induction.
It is based on electromagnetic induction. Exactly, electromagnetic induction. Whatever are the laws of EMI, it is exactly based on those. All right. Hamza, can you tell which energy is converted into which form of energy with the help of AC generator? Hamza. Which form of energy is converted? I think we had discussed this. Which form of energy? One form of energy got converted into another form of energy. Mechanical energy to electrical. Yes, right. Mechanical energy got converted to electrical energy. All these things we had discussed, and N E is equal to NA omega sine omega t. First, phi was derived. Phi was what? BA omega, BA cos omega t or BA cos theta. This you can easily remember from your magnetic flux. Regarding EMF, we had seen this was BA omega sine omega t. We didn't do any questions on this. Let's first do a question. Then we'll move further. Just note this question. Okay, Kulsum, 0.31 volts. Yes, right. I think the answer is 0.314 volts precisely. Correct. So how did you solve, Kulsum? 0.74. Yes, Atif, right. Yes, Kulsum. Yes, Kulsum, explain. Your answer is correct. Just explain the procedure. Your answer is right. It's 0.31 only. Okay, okay. Your mic is not working. So can anyone else explain? Atif, can you?
Yes, teacher, we need to use the formula BA omega.
BA omega. Perfect. See, the question says a man pedals a stationary bicycle, the pedals of which are attached to a 100-turn coil. So N from here you can easily predict N is 100. Area is given to you as 0.1 meter square. Now the coil rotates at a half a revolution per second. At half of a revolution per second. So what is this? This is omega is basically half revolution per second. The rotation of the coil. The coil is rotating, that is mentioned. And the magnetic field is mentioned. You have to find out maximum voltage. So in the last class, we have discussed that if sine omega t is somehow equal to +1, if in any ways your sine omega t, this is somehow equal to +1. So we say maximum value of EMF, this will be simply BA omega. Now B, you know from the question, it is given as 0.01 Tesla. Area was given what? I think 0.1 meter square, no? So this is 0.1 meter square. Now omega, only this is not clearly given to us. See, revolution per second, something that is moving divided by time. So revolution means the displacement that has been covered in angular terms. So that's why we say this is what? This is the angular velocity. This just gets connected to your rotational dynamics, which you must have studied in your class 11. So it is half of a revolution per second. Half of a revolution. This omega is given to you as half of revolution per second. So what is one complete revolution? 360 degree. One whole complete angle, if there's a coil. For example, if a coil is there, coil starts rotating. So when the coil starts rotating, what will happen? It will rotate like this, and ultimately it will reach this position back. So what do we say? If it reaches this position back, then we say it has completed the whole angle, the angle of a complete circle, which is 360 degree. Remember, we did a question also in, I think, magnetics, we did it from 0 to, in magnetics, or I think in EMI. We have done that equation, no, where we took time period as t by 4. Total time period was given as t. So that in that question also, from 0 degree to 90 degree, then 90 degree to 180 degree, 180 degree to 270 degree, back to 360 degree. That made a complete circle. So what's one revolution? That is 2 pi only. 2 pi is, so here you have half revolution of 2 pi per second. Now per second means your unit becomes radian per second. Fine. So here 2 gets cancelled. You are left with pi radian per second. That is omega. Now EMF you can easily write BA omega. So that becomes 10 to the power minus 2 into 10 to the power minus 1 into pi. Pi is 3.14. This is what? 10 to the power minus 3. And this is volt. because this was radian per second. Magnetic field is Tesla, area is meter square. So this way, when you solve it, the final answer that yes, you people were no, Kulsum. When you were unmuting yourself, still you were not audible. I think there's an issue from your side only. Just check. So Kulsum, do one thing. Whenever I ask you something, you just type because your mic is not working. In the last class, also it wasn't working.
Teacher, you have to multiply the number of turns.
Oh yes, right. Number of turns are also given 100, no? Yes, thank you, Atif. See, which are attached to 100 turns of coil. So this is for a single coil which I've calculated. Number of turns will also be there, 100. So if this is for a single turn, then for n number of turns, n is over here 100. So this becomes 3.14 into 10 to the power minus 3 into 10 to the power 2. That is 100 turns. So this much is volt is the answer. So whenever you're solving questions of EMI, magnetic field, AC, do keep in mind the number of turns. Otherwise, similarly to what I have written, what I had written, similar thing would have happened. The answer gets changed when you neglect the number of turns. Here only 10 to the powers were there. So magnitude was right. If it was given 500 or some other number, 340, some random number, then answer becomes completely different. So question you people have written, write down the solution. So this much was all about AC generator. Apart from here, you don't need to remember anything. Now we'll just move on to the equations of AC. EMF, current, all these things we'll do. For AC generator, this much is sufficient. Now the equations in AC. So you will be studying equations regarding current, equations which are related to EMF and all these equations. Then further the concepts of current, electricity will also get involved when you study. Now first let us start with equation of EMF. Let's start with the equation of AC EMF. So normal EMF, you know, all those equations which you have been studying, EMF that you have studied already in current, electricity, that was for DC. So direct current, you know how to solve EMF. You can use Ohm's law to solve this. But in this case, AC, your current is variable, your EMF is getting variable. So when you have variable quantities, everything will be changed. So here also we'll be having different equation for the AC EMF. So equation of AC EMF. Now remember one equation. Fine. From this equation, you will be getting two questions which are asked in the board exams for half cycle, for full cycle, that we'll see. But first understand what is the equation. E is equal to E naught sine omega t. Now EMF is written in which manner? When we were studying DC, we used to write EMF as E only. So there will be a difference in the EMF that has occurred in alternating current. Alternating EMF will also be there apart from the alternating current, or because of the production of alternating current. So apart from this E that we earlier used to write, now we'll be having sine omega t. And this sine omega t we have already discussed in the last class. Basically, this is the turning of the coil. So the angle that was formed, that we have written it as omega t, because omega is theta divided by t. So omega is theta divided by t. So theta can be written as omega multiplied by t. So E multiplied by sine omega t. This is your EMF now in current, in alternating current. In case of current electricity, you just used to write this part. Whenever EMF was asked or whenever anything was there regarding EMF, you just wrote this portion. Now in alternating current, you have this additional portion. Fine. So what are all those terms? See, this what we have written, what I have written, this E naught sine omega t, this is the instantaneous value of EMF. EMF exactly at a particular angle. For a specific angle, when the coil is at a certain position, what's the EMF at that instant? Because current is variable, EMF is variable. Current and EMF both are variable. So current will be changing. So at a certain angle, current will have a certain value. At a different angle, current will have a different value. Then at another angle, current will have another value. Similarly, for different angles, values of EMF will also vary. So this exactly at a moment, exactly at an angle, we get instantaneous EMF. This is the maximum value of EMF that is possible. Maximum value we have discussed already. Maximum value is also known as peak value, or it is known as the amplitude of EMF. So in questions in your exams, you can get a simple question. 5 is equal to 3 sine omega t. E is equal to 3 sine omega t. So if you are asked what is the peak value or the maximum value or the amplitude of EMF, if any of these things are asked, it will be simply this 3, because this is E naught. And omega, you all know that's the angular frequency of the coil. Just note down these points, then we'll discuss further. C class. Now two things will come. Average value of AC's EMF for full cycle and for half cycle. Now full cycle, half cycle means if you have a coil and the coil is moving. So if the coil is moving, then when the coil moves, one complete revolution is done. When one complete revolution is done by the coil, then we say that's the time period of the coil for the complete revolution. So that is full cycle. And half cycle means when the time period is half, T/2 is the time period. Then we say that is half. So both of these are important. These questions come in the board exam, in your half yearly and all these pre-board exams also. Half cycle, full cycle also come. So let's start with the full cycle first. Average value of AC for full cycle. Now, we'll be solving it by integration. That's the only method to solve this. Why? Because this is variable. See, whenever you use normal calculus, at that moment, what happens? You have finite fixed things. Like when we were calculating terminal potential difference, we could easily write the equation V is equal to E minus IR. We could put the values and then we would get our answers. In this case, what is happening? Everything is variable. You cannot have a fixed value. Had it been a fixed value, then we wouldn't have this chapter only. Since the values are changing so much, we have to have all the values at every step. When the rotation is occurring at a certain angle, EMF is changing. So in a single revolution, in a single rotation, angle keeps on changing, and so the values of AC and the values of EMF and current also change. Now in this case, you know the equation that I have told you. This is E is equal to E naught sine omega t. From here, peak value is E naught, E is the instantaneous value. Just understand it like this. This is the EMS value that you have been solving. Just additional component sine omega t makes the whole component as the instantaneous EMF. Now average in EMF we are finding. Because every values of EMF will be different at a certain angle, at a specific value of omega, whole value sine omega t will get changed, so E will have a certain value. Then when the coil will shift, then again a different value will be there. Then the coil will shift again a value. So if I ask you what's the value of EMF, which value will you mention to me? The value that is at a certain angle or at a certain angle. You cannot mention this. If I'm asking you for the whole rotation, for the whole complete cycle, what's the EMF? There has to be certain fixed value which you have to mention. So in this case, what we do? We take the average. Remember, in case of drift velocity also, when we were studying current electricity, there we had seen why we had the usage or why did we need to calculate the drift velocity. Reason was that same. Every electron was possessing different velocity. So if each electron is possessing its own velocity, then what is the net velocity through the wire? So we used to calculate the average of it. Though you didn't take it out as a specific average, you had the formula, but in the derivation you wrote this. So similarly here also, if at every step EMF is different, so what's the EMF? What's the average value of EMF? So here we'll take the average. Now E dt, we are differentiating this to find out the value of EMF. Now integrating, this is the standard step. And there's one more derivation to get this step also, but you don't need to go into the details of this step. Just remember this step. But yes, from here you have to remember every step. How do we take out the average of EMF? Firstly, take the differentiation of EMF, integration of EMF, E dt. Integrate it from the time that is given, for the whole time that is given. So we are calculating for a full cycle. So it will start initially from 0 and it will end at a complete time period t. Not only till here, divided by integration of the total time that is given. This is the standard formula. This is the first step of derivation. If you remember this step, somehow try whenever you're studying that you are able to recall this step. If you remember this step, then you just have to perform simple integration. Simple integration. See, denominator is very easy. Krishna, can you without calculation tell me what will be in the denominator? Just look at the denominator. Integration of dt from 0 to capital T.
T.
T. See, like this. Without even calculation, you have solved the denominator. When you integrate dt from 0 to t value, your final answer will be capital T only. So just remember this step. That's what I'm saying. Focus on this step. Rest of the things you will be able to solve. Now, what should be the next step? E is value, putting the value of E. So if you put the value of E, this becomes E naught sine omega t, integration from 0 to t divided by t. When you integrate this, you get time. Now, E naught is a constant. It is a maximum fixed peak value. So E naught is a constant and we have to just integrate sine omega t. So average EMF is shown. Any quantity which has to be shown or whose average has to be shown is shown by these brackets. So E naught is a constant. E naught will be over here integrating 0 to t sine omega t dt. Oh, here also dt will come. This dt divided by the time period. Fine. Now integration of sine omega t. In the last class, I have told you when we differentiate, we multiply the constant that is given in the angle. So within the angle, omega was the constant. Remember in the last class also we did it. Omega sine omega t, omega cos omega t, like this. So that was differentiation. In case of integration, you divide the constant. So here, E naught divided by t is left. Omega will come in the denominator and integration of sine theta gives you cos theta. So you have cos omega t whose value is from 0 to t. So omega is also constant. Omega can be kept together with this. And what is left? Only cos omega capital T minus cos 0 is left. So cos omega t minus cos 0 is left. E naught divided by omega t. Fine. Now omega, we have to substitute the value of omega. From here, do you people remember the relation between time period and omega? Can any one of you tell me who remembers it? Omega and time period, angular velocity and time period.
Two pi by omega.
2 pi by omega is time period. So time omega will be 2 pi divided by the time period. Exactly, Arthur. Good. So this is 2 pi divided by t. Just put in the value of omega here. Because how will we solve this further? Both are different things. No? Here we have 0. Here we have omega t. We have to have a number. So when you will solve this, this becomes omega t cos 2 pi by t into t minus cos 0 degree. This becomes t gets cancelled. So cos 2 pi we know. Cos 2 pi we know. Cos 2 pi is 1. I'll write down. Cos 2 pi is plus 1. So see, what is the final answer? Oh, E naught by omega t. Cos 2 pi is 1 minus cos 0 is also 1. What's the average value that is coming for the entire circle, this entire rotation? 0. So E average for the full cycle is simply 0. This is average EMF for the full cycle. It will be simply 0. So if in your direct questions, which are 1 marker, if it is asked, no need to perform any calculation, simply write it as 0 because your answer will be 0 at every step. We are talking about the full cycle. But when we, if this question comes as a derivation, or you have to prove that for average cycle, for full cycle, the average value of AC is 0, then you have to show all these working steps. First, tell me any doubts for anyone in any of the steps, whichever part you have not understood. Atif, you're saying something?
Yes, teacher. Integration of sine omega t will be minus cos omega t, right?
Integration of sine omega t. Where? No, when we integrate sine theta, that gives us cos theta. No, when we differentiate sine theta, we get minus cos theta. In the last class, we did the same, no? Even if you write minus, no, here, Atif, then minus sign will come over here. So when ultimately you will solve here, see when you will reach the last step, minus sign will be left over here. So this will ultimately be 0 into minus 1. So that will give you 0 back. See, if this is for a half cycle, for half cycle, no, certain terms there will be a change in certain terms. For half cycle. So half cycle basically means if it starts from 0 degree, it has completed 180 degree. Wherever it starts, half time period, half of the time period. So here is not from 0 to t, it will become 0 to t by 2. Here also 0 to t by 2. Similarly, in the denominator also, this will be 0 to t by 2. So this will become t divided by 2. This is the difference that will come. So obviously there will be change in our answers. This is t by 2. This is still t by 2. So again, yes, minus, again, Atif, see, minus sign will be kept here only. Because cos omega t, you are solving the angle part. So minus sign, you can write it in the other way. So t divided by 2. So 2 will go up. And here we have t by 2. Here we are having 2. This is t divided by 2 over here. Now when we put in the values, omega is equal to 2 pi divided by t. So this will be t by 2 as well. So 2 gets cancelled. Now cos pi, cos 180 degrees is what? Minus 1. So this time here we do not get 0. Minus 1, minus 1. So this becomes, and 2 is already here. So this becomes what? Minus 2 E naught by omega t multiplied by minus 2. See, here capital T is written. No. We have to change this in terms of capital T. So this was for the half cycle. Here only I'm editing it. This is, so here till here it was what? 2 E naught divided by 2 pi by T. So the change that will occur, minus 2 E naught by omega t. This I had written. Just clearly I'm writing because that was written for half cycle. Now see, omega when I replace, this becomes E naught divided by, this is also 2 pi divided by t. See, now we are not getting 0. Now I need to solve this part. Earlier what happened? This term came out to be 0. So I just wrote the final answer as 0. And I didn't change this omega. I have to change this omega as well. So this will be 2 pi multiplied by t. And this is what? This is cos pi minus cos 0. Cos pi minus cos 0 degree. So from here 2 gets cancelled, t gets cancelled, and minus E naught by pi multiplied by minus 1 minus 1. So from here, minus 1 into minus 1 gives you minus 2. Minus 2 into minus E naught by pi. Your final answer is 2 E naught divided by pi. This value you have to remember, 2 E naught divided by pi. So E average for the half cycle comes out to be 2 E naught divided by pi. This is the value of EMF for half cycle. So basically just the change occurs in t by 2. Everywhere you have to put it t by 2. And in the lastly what happens? Angle does not come out to be 1 minus 1 or 0. Here minus 1 comes out. So that becomes minus 2. So your net answer is not 0. Your net EMF value is 0 in case of full cycle. It's non-zero in case of half cycle. And you just don't have to remember this fact that it's non-zero. You have to remember this 2 E naught divided by pi as well. Fine, so note down this. Just text me done. Once you have completed this writing part, text me done in the chat box. Was somebody asking something?
Yes, ma'am. Finally, my sign be there.
Your voice is cracking. Who is this? Krishna? Please type whatever you're saying. Since the integral of sine is cos, so the final answer should be negative. See the negative sign query, no? Look, in this case, negative sign is over here. When you integrate cos, when you're integrating sine, you're right, you will get minus cos. So minus sign we have written over here. At the end, what happened? Minus 2 came. So minus 2 got multiplied by minus E naught by pi. That's why our final answer came out to be positive. Plus 2 E naught divided by pi. Otherwise, our answer would have been negative. Or even in the previous case, though, when we were discussing the full cycle, if our answer was not 0, then our answer might have come in negative terms. But right now, since minus 2 is coming, that's why the answer is coming positive. Clear, Krishna? Done all. If anyone is writing, let me know. Yes, class, please start with the test. And nobody is going to send me personally. Last time it became very difficult for me to identify all the papers in the personal chat. So group is made, group is already there. So once you complete your paper, once you convert it into PDF, then just submit it on the group. Yes, class, submit your answers. Only one student has submitted. Your time is up now. Try to wrap up your paper quickly. Submit it on the group. Kulsum, you can leave. Neha also. Josefa has also submitted. Josefa, you can also leave.